In this episode, we're talking about our ultimate tips for visiting the Disney parks. This is episode 71. I'm Soraya.
I'm Aurora.
And together we're just your average Disney travelers. Alright, so there's just lots of lists of tips and tricks and all sorts of things for going to Disney parks. This is going to be our ultimate list that we're coming up with, and it's kind of all over the place, right? Lots of different types of tips.
Yes.
Alright, these aren't necessarily super specific detailed things, but overall, the top tips you're going to want for going to the Disney parks. Aurora. Oh, wait. Because we have more news again. I keep forgetting. And one of them, I haven't even told you yet, just announced, maybe it's already happened. Or I can't even remember now. But the Disney Cruise Line is making masks optional for those who are vaccinated. Yes. So there are a couple exceptions. So the kids that cannot be vaccinated yet do have to wear their masks when they are in the common areas, and everyone in the Walt Disney Theater needs to wear their masks still. But otherwise, if you're in the lobby, if you're in the hallways, you do not need to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. It's optional. We'll see. Hopefully that stays, but that is the plan for now. Another thing is big news we were super happy about. So the night shows are coming back to Disneyland. We have dates. So April 22nd is the big date to have most of the night shows coming back, I believe. And Fantasmic, right now, it's saying Memorial Day weekend. So I'm excited about all of that going to be back when we're going to go this summer. And so hopefully that all stays true and ends up being the case. Okay, those are the two things I wanted to make sure we brought up. Now, Aurora, getting onto our topic of our ultimate list for visiting the Disney parks, what would be the first one you'd start us off with?
Learn about Disney history before or even during your trip.
Yeah, there's so many resources for that now. Obviously, there's always been like good books and things you could read or check out. But now Disney Plus has got lots of great programs, behind the scenes type of things, the Imagineering story, all sorts of fun stuff.
Show.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. So when you go understanding a little bit more about the history, don't you think that you get more? Does it add any more to it when you're there at the parks?
Yes,
for you,
definitely.
Yeah, it's just really cool to know the background of it, and it's even more impressive, I think. All right, so in addition to learning about some of that beforehand, while you're there, you can take some time to learn more about the parks. Either like when you're walking down Main Street and you look up at the windows, if you don't know some of the names, you can look them up, find out who they are.
Yeah.
There's also tours that are starting to come back. I don't know if the Disneyland if their tours are back yet, but the Disney World has got some of their tours coming back, and those are always full of great information too. So, all right. Next one, keep your home schedule or routine in mind when you start making your plans. And I think this is especially important when you're talking about kids. Try not to overload them too much. And, if you've got kids that need to take naps, they're still going to need to take naps. So try not to overschedule them. Plan around what is normal for you. If your family is not an early morning family, it might be hard to plan rope dropping every day. Or on the other end, if they're usually in bed pretty early, it's going to be hard to stay out late and close the parks. And so keep that in mind as you're making your plans and be realistic.
Yes, definitely.
Says a teenager that wants to sleep in.
Yeah. Yeah, Mom.
Hey, sometimes I let you. Lately, you've been at least one of the days getting to sleep in.
Yes.
At least.
I'm very grateful.
Yes.
On that day.
Yep. All right. So what's another tip?
Don't follow the crowd.
Yeah. Don't just follow everybody.
Yeah.
If most of the people are going right, go left.
Unless you have plans, reservation.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Or like you...
It's hard not to follow. It's hard to not follow crowds now because there are crowds everywhere.
Yeah.
And, at rope drop, people are going in all the directions. And
I
so
mean,
you don't know where the crowd is
different
going.
because the crowd typically is pretty small, so...
No, the crowd... Well, I mean,
It depends
that's
on where.
because we're usually at the front of the crowd.
Oh, it's true.
If you're at the back of the crowd, it's not small. It feels like it's small because we're at the front.
Okay, never mind.
We lead the crowd. We're not following the crowd. We're leading the crowd. Anyways, okay, yeah. So just common sense. If you've got a lot of people, one of the things that when you have rides that have multiple options of which lane you can get in, and you see people keep, or even in the middle of the queue, like say for Indiana Jones, like there'll be a point where you're going up the stairs and it's like there's times in certain queue lines where you can choose left, right, and it doesn't even really matter which way you choose, except that if everyone starts going one way, go the other way then, because it's probably going to be a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So, but just things like that. And if people tend to, I think that most of the time people tend to go to the right at the end of Main Street, like go towards Tomorrowland.
Yeah, right is a safe... It's like...
It's a comfort.
Yes, it's a more comfortable direction to go in.
For a lot of people.
For most people. Or,
So,
yeah, maybe a lot is more accurate than most.
But the thing is, honestly, almost everybody that I hear that says, to what direction to go, they say to go left because so many people go right. But because everybody says to go left, I don't really know if it makes a difference anymore.
Yeah.
Go straight. Go to Fantasyland. But anyways, yeah, just try not to go where everyone else is going.
Yep.
But on the other hand, it's going to be crowded no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, pack souvenir. Oh, I'm skipping. Bring...
Yeah, that one's mine.
Sorry. All right, bring some emergency warm clothing if you're going anywhere from November to February. Last week, I think it was, we talked about rain at the parks, and one of the tips was to check the forecast before you go. Be aware that sometimes the weather's cooler, sometimes it's wet, so be prepared for that. And in those winter months, it's quite common that you're going to have at least some days or evenings or at some point during your trip, it's going to be cooler. Might be cold, and it could be that your whole trip is very cold. I hear stories from friends of people who would go at spring break thinking it was going to be nice and warm. Their spring break was early, so it was kind of March actually. And they needed winter coats, like cold. They were buying socks because they hadn't packed any, all those things. So if you're going during the winter, at least be prepared with a little bit of clothing that would work.
And it's also always smart to bring, like at least a single hoodie, even if you're going in summer, because nights, at least in Disneyland, tend to be a bit more on the cooler side.
Well, and especially since some of the attractions, if you get wet and then it gets... At nighttime, it's especially cool.
You never know. So, hoodies.
You love hoodies.
Yeah.
Another thing is layers is good. So if you have, t-shirts and then some, light hoodie or something, and then maybe a jacket, so you don't have to, you can then be flexible with whatever the weather ends up being. But yeah, beware. Winter.
Yes.
Pack warm.
Pack souvenirs from home. So basically, don't buy, like, the stuff you're gonna give your kids at Disney because they're gonna be expensive.
It's not like you can't. Just know it's gonna be expensive.
Yes, it will be very expensive, and you can find stuff that is cheaper and will be just as rewarding to.
Well, and your kids best. If you want to be giving them lots of little, like every day having a special little souvenir or something for them, maybe if you're doing that every day, you're probably going to want to bring some of those from home. It's okay if there's something you want to buy for them there. We've always done that a little bit, but I've also, when the kids were younger, when you were younger, I also packed stuff to give to you, and so it was like a blend of that. So t-shirts, stuffed animals. The dollar store has some good Disney themed stuff. The dollar, what's it called? Dollar Spot, I think, whatever they call it at Target. that aisle sometimes will have really good options that are affordable. Anyways, you can make stuff. There's all sorts of options, but it is going to save you some money.
Yes.
You definitely, anytime you can save money is a good thing. All right, so look into the Memory Maker if you're at Disney World, or if you're at Disneyland, it's the Photo Pass. Look into those and decide whether it's going to be worth it for you. It's not going to be worth it for everybody. Some people, it might be worth it for maybe one day, but not necessarily their whole trip. So look into that and see if realistically it's something that you think you're going to take advantage of. Because if you're not going to, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah.
But if you do think you would use it, then it can be a great value.
Yes.
So just do a little bit of research there before you go, so that way you know what you want.
Can you pay for that stuff during trips?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you can pay for it during trips, so...
Yeah, the Disney World, at least in the past, you've been able to add it to a package. If you do it ahead of time, you do actually get a discounted price, a little bit of a discount. And so it is nice if you know ahead of time and you know you're going to do it then. But you can always get the packages when you're there. I think even afterwards, when you get home and are looking through and seeing all the watermarks and you want to take them off, and you can decide to do it then too. But
Yeah.
for sure during, yeah.
Okay. Going with the same idea, learn about Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes and then decide if they're worth it for you.
Yeah. And again, that's going to vary. Some people it will be and some people it won't be. I think especially when you're looking at those lightning lanes and everything, if your kids aren't old enough to be using that, if they're not going to be riding those rides that have them, then that's probably a pretty good indicator that it might not be a good idea for you that trip.
Yeah.
But, look into it, learn about it, and figure out. Because if it will be a good value for you, then it can be a great asset during that trip. If it's not, though, if you're not going to be using it, don't waste the money.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Send snacks and a case of water to your hotel before your trip. This is really good if you're traveling to Disney. So, like, we do this when we go to Disney World. Either you can order it ahead of time, or I will sometimes just do a grocery delivery once we get there, or you can do Amazon Prime Now when you get there. But if we're going to, say, Disneyland, we drive most of the time, and so we can just bring that. It doesn't make sense to send it. Don't send it in that case. But if you're flying, it is nice to have snacks and water bottles on hand, or some sort of drinking water, whether it's water bottles you're carrying in, or even just jugs of drinking water that you can fill up your water bottles at the hotel. If we're at Disney World, I actually don't worry about the water bottles as much. It kind of depends on what hotel we're at, but almost always I can get access to some good the filtered drinking water at like the food court, or
Yeah. You don't have to have some of that
nasty swamp water.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then once you're in the parks, you can refill at any of the quick service. Disneyland, some hotels are great with water in the lobby, and some aren't. So it's more hit or miss when you're off property there at Disneyland.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you're not driving, keep that in mind.
Yep. Review menu items before your trip.
Yeah, I have a website I really like. It's called allears.net, allears.net. And they have a lot of information, but what I use them for the most are for the menus. And you can see all the menus from Disney World as well as Disneyland for every place that they sell food. And they're only as current as people have submitted, updates, but they're fairly current. And so sometimes they'll have photos, but it always has a list of the menu and pricing as of whatever date that was updated. And it's a very, very, very good resource to get an idea of what restaurants or what locations have food that your family will actually eat, especially if you're traveling with kids. Yes. So you can get an idea of what to expect. Unless they show a photo, it is hard to know whether it's going to be one that's big enough to share, but sometimes they do show photos. I've found that most of the time we've been able to share a meal, Aurora and I. most of the time.
Yeah.
So they do tend to be good sized. All right. Where are we? All right. Download the park apps before your trip. We've said this so many times before. If
Yeah.
it's, whichever park you're going to, Disneyland or Walt Disney World
Even
is,
if you're going on a cruise.
yeah, if you're going on a cruise, this works too. The Disney World app is actually My Disney Experience. But still, yeah, that or the Disneyland app. You want to download those before you go. Be familiar with them. You're going to be using them anyways, probably before you go. You might be making reservations through there. But yeah, just do that ahead of time.
If you don't get the reservations you want, keep checking, because sometimes people will not be, like, they'll have to, like, cancel.
Right.
Or something comes up, and then there will be a spot available. And so if you keep checking, you may be able to get that reservation you want.
Yeah, so you can make another dining reservation in the meantime, just as your backup plan. But keep looking for the one you really want. If it's Blue Bayou or something like that, just keep trying, especially when you get to where it's like where people are canceling their trips. So maybe at the 30-day mark before when people, especially at Walt Disney World, if they've got packages or whatever, or even actually at Disneyland, but I see packages mostly over at Disney World usually. At the 30-day mark, that's when they're paying full, basically. And if at that point, that's when a lot of people will decide whether or not they're going to actually take their trip. So if they cancel their trip, then they're probably going to be canceling whatever dining reservations they've made.
Yeah.
And so that's a good time to check. And then also checking even last minute, because sometimes people have overbooked themselves and they're realizing this is too much and they need to cut back. And then
or last minute cancels.
Yeah. So for whatever reason. So you can always check even while you're on the trip for one of the dates that you still have coming up. So just don't give up. Keep trying. Go ahead and book yourself a backup. If you do book yourself a backup and then you get what you want, make sure you cancel your backup reservation, because otherwise you will get charged. But yeah, don't give up. All right, that's me. Make your stroller stand out by putting something on it. We've said this a lot. Putting a ribbon or tying a scarf or something to it, putting a colorful duct tape on it, whatever makes it stand out. That's a tip we've given so many times for
yes,
so many
we have.
so many different topics and everything. But yeah, that it's hard to until you've been there. It's hard to imagine just the sea of strollers that are at Disney. And especially in certain areas.
So many.
And so, and then not only that, but we've mentioned before, while you're on the attraction, when you've parked your stroller, usually the cast members need to kind of keep things moving along or consolidated, because as you're in line and on the attraction, other people are coming and getting their strollers out. Now there's big gaps, and so they kind of just squish them together or kind of just relocate some of the strollers to make it better. And that means that chances are when you come back to your stroller, it's not going to be exactly where you left it.
Yeah.
So having something that'll help it stand out really well will save you time and stress.
Take a good sized charger in your bag.
Yeah, we have, it's called, I think it's an Anchor power bank.
Whenever I see it, I just keep thinking ankle.
Yeah, it's not Anchor. There's lots of different ones. Just make sure it's not a dinky small one. You're going to want to be able to get multiple charges out of it, because most likely everybody in your group's going to need it at least once.
Yeah.
Maybe even twice during the day. And so you want it to have a good amount of juice. So, yeah. Take those into the parks and then recharge them at night, so that way the next day you've got lots more juice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, have items shipped to your house. This is like the opposite of sending food to your hotel.
Yeah.
It's like when you're shopping, if you're kind of going crazy, you don't have to worry about whether you can fit it on the plane or repack it or whatever. You can have them shipped to your house. And I've not done it myself yet, although we've looked into it a couple times when we almost made some pretty big purchases, like artwork and stuff. But it's actually fairly reasonable, I believe. So always ask how much it would be to have an item or bag, a box of whatever your purchases are sent home, and that will help you on the packing to go home part.
Yep. Plan for rest days. The parks will be very exhausting, and you will be very grateful for those rest days.
Yeah, your body gets sore and tired. Kids get overstimulated.
Yeah.
So I feel like Disney World, I like to plan rest days, and at Disneyland, I like to plan rest like afternoons. Like I will just want to take a break for an hour or two and get off my feet.
Especially like in the very high, very like
Peak.
Wow, yeah, peak. That's a good word. And like the peak hours, you just kind of skip them.
Mm-hmm.
Because evenings aren't that bad when it comes to crowds.
Yeah,
For the most part.
Afternoon's going to be the most hot, the most crowded. Everyone's kind of getting tired. It's just a good time to take a break. Go to the pool, go take a nap, take a shower. Whatever it is will help you relax and be kind of rejuvenated to go back in later. But just take an hour or two, and it's really easy to do that as long as you've got a hotel that's really close that you can walk to. If you're going to have to be driving, then I don't know, that might be harder, in which case you might want to adopt the Disney World where I like to have rest days instead of rest hours. But because at Disney World, it's a little bit harder to just go back to your hotel and then come right back. Nothing is super close, and so unless you're on the monorail and you're just at Magic Kingdom, but for all of the parks, you don't ever have one hotel that's close to everything, and so in those cases, I like to do like a couple of days in the park and then have a rest day and then go back in for a couple more days and, like 2, maybe 3 days tops, and then have a rest day. And on your rest day, you can be at the pool, or you could do just some more dining and shopping in either downtown Disney or at Disney Springs. You can go walking around the different resorts and looking at, especially during the holidays, looking at decorations. There's all sorts of things you could do. If you're in Southern California, of course, you could go to the beach. Well, even in Florida you could, but it's closer in Southern California. But anyways, just take a break, if you're, so you don't get overloaded. All right. Do not wear cheap shoes in the park.
Like I always do.
Don't wear cheap shoes. Wear good walking shoes. And even more importantly, wear good standing shoes.
Yes, and also, kind of going along some ideas, get good socks that, were the ones that you got me that are good for not getting blisters is like a special.
Well, you just want anything that's synthetic. You don't want cotton.
Yeah, okay, that's the thing you were telling me, yeah.
Yeah, anything that's synthetic so that you're not going to, you just want to be able to have something that's going to keep your feet protected a little bit.
I don't know which ones you got me, but they're actually really comfortable because like they kind of hug your foot like in the middle.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like little, or just in the middle, like right in the arch. It hugs it.
That's good.
And it feels weird at first, but also feels really good.
Yeah. So wear comfortable very comfortable footwear. If you can't afford to get really high quality shoes, at the very least, get some really good inserts, and like really good inserts. So your feet, oh man.
And switch them out.
Yeah, switch them out. Like halfway through the day if you can. That's ideal. But yeah, don't wear cheap shoes.
Yes.
I can't believe it. I see people wearing flip-flops. Now I've worn flip-flops that are Croc flip-flops that are not cheap, and they're really pretty good. But I see people with those cheap little dollar store flip-flops, and I think, what are you thinking? It's just, that is, your feet have got to be killing you, and they are usually, I'm sure. But, yeah, treat your feet right.
Drink lots of water.
Yeah, soda does not count.
No, because that's just going to make you more thirsty.
Yeah, you really, really, really need to get water in your body to keep yourself hydrated. And you can do like flavored waters, like you can add the flavored drink like Crystal Light or something if you need to, or sports drinks, something that's going to replenish, because you are being in the sun, even if it's not super hot, just being out and on your feet the whole day and in the sun, and it's exhausting. You really, really, really need to stay hydrated.
Yes.
All right, so this one, use mobile ordering when you're going to be ordering your food. It just saves so much time. It is so convenient. It's like I is one of my favorite new things with the parks. It's so quick and easy. You order it. You can even order it well before, like a couple hours before mealtime if you want. But you can usually, depending on crowds and how quickly slots are being taken up, you can usually order as you're getting closer to the meal too. But you get to personalize, customize orders. So you can tell them to hold the pickles or the tomatoes or whatever. You can just put in your whole order and then tell them when you're there and go pick it up. It's so quick and easy.
Yeah.
Saves so much time.
Okay.
We love this one.
Have low expectations. But, like, not to the point where you're not excited, but, like, don't, expect high amounts and, help.
Just know that it's
long
not gonna,
waits.
Yeah,
it's not going to be the perfect vacation.
Understand that there's so many things involved. You've got weather, you've got other people, you've got, sometimes things go wrong with attractions where they go down and you're not going to, a ride you were looking forward to might be down for a little bit and you have to wait for it to come back up, or maybe it will even be down the whole time. So sometimes things are just going to go wrong. We've done whole episodes on things that go wrong at Disney. I think we ended up doing that in 2 parts. It was so many things. Things can go wrong.
More things.
Yeah, and they do. So go with low expectations, and not that it's really low expectations. It's really more realistic expectations, because then everything that goes great is going to be so awesome, and you're going to have fun. And I feel like really kind of weird saying go with low expectations, but really it's just understand nothing can be absolutely perfect for reals. So just go with, expecting there to be some hiccups and like you said, some long lines, and then every time that things go smoothly, you're going to be like, wow, that was great.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was the shortest line we've ever had on that ride, or whatever,
Yes.
So, for sure. All right, so this one, I really, for a while, I started thinking, it's not always necessary, but I'm back to really being on board with this. You really ought to use a travel agent. With all of the changes and things that they've been doing with the Genie Plus and the Lightning Lanes, and it's just getting more and more complicated. I especially if you're not very familiar with the parks, it's so wise to use a travel agent, because you want one that is specialized in Disney. And if you do have a travel agent that's specialized in Disney, they're going to know exactly what you need to know, and they're going to give you that information. At least the good ones will. And so get a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel so bad for the people that I see going, especially if I know them. I try to warn people. It's just there's so much information. I'm not currently a travel agent, so I'm not always as in the know as I used to be. But man, I just feel bad when I see people who aren't prepared and they go and they think it will be like it was, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, or heck, even 3 years ago, and it's not.
Even like 1 year ago.
Well, that's true too. Even since COVID, things keep continuing to change, but especially since COVID, it is a completely different ball game, and you just need to attack it a different way. I think approach it in a completely different way, and it's just so much. There's so much that's changed that it's so helpful to have a travel agent. You don't have to, but I think you get so much more out of your trip if you have one. So I'm totally on board on that one. All right.
The last one.
This is, I think, my favorite.
Yes. Be in the moment.
What does that mean?
Plan, but don't let it consume you. Let everything just happen and let it go naturally where what would be best for your group in the moment.
Well, and that's when you're going to start to experience the magic.
Yes.
You cannot force magic. And so if you have the dream of going to Disney and having these magical moments and experiences with your kids, you can try to set yourself up for them, but you never know which one is going to really take. You can't force it. And so just enjoy. I've said it so many times. I will say it again and again. If you're having a good time, you are getting your money's worth. So let go of the idea of you want to do it all. Let go of the expectations of certain things you've seen other people doing. Go. You can go with ideas. You can have plans. You can make, have some of those things in mind. But really, in the moment, when it comes down to it, if my friend, my previous agency owner talks all the time about her daughter's first trip when she was 1 year old, walking down Main Street and jumping in the puddles. And it's like that is one of her favorite memories with her little baby girl first trip to Disney World, jumping in the puddles. You can jump in puddles anywhere. So it's not like it was so magical to Disney,
I really
but it was
bubbles.
Yes, and for you it was the bubbles. And we kind of joke about, we could have just stayed home and blown bubbles. But it's not, it's just that was part of the magic, was getting that moment of free-spirited and, just letting go and enjoying that moment of jumping into puddles down Main Street and chasing bubbles in Tomorrowland with Stitch, or, it's like, it's just, those are when the magic happens, is when you just let the moment be and be in that moment with
you used
your family.
to be a pretty big planner.
Yeah.
And now we haven't, you don't really do that anymore. And I personally think that has been better.
Yeah.
Since
I think that the more you go, the less you plan, just because.
That's true. You also are more familiar. You don't have to feel like you need to, like you don't worry about not being able to do something.
Yeah. Because we've been so many times and we know we'll be back again, and so you don't worry about having to get everything in. We don't feel like we have to do everything every time, and so it is easier that way. But also, when you plan, as a travel agent, when I planned so much, I was actually just telling my sister about this a little bit ago, that I was a planner and I planned to the detail of all of our, like literally where we would go next and when we would take breaks and all this. And but then once I started planning for other people, I don't know, I just didn't want to do any more planning for myself. And I get burned out on the planning part of it, I guess.
I was grateful.
Yeah, I mean,
I am not a structured, very.
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
I do like structure, and I still like to plan to a little bit, just have an idea. But really now my thing is I just know what my top spots are that I for sure want to do during the trip. But everyone's different, and especially for people who are not able to go very often, it is good to go with a plan of some sorts. It's good it's nice, if you just go and are flying by the seat of your pants all the time, then you're probably going to be missing out on things. I think at least it's good to know what the patterns are and where you need to put your priority. Like, for instance, knowing how to get on Rise of the Resistance. If you don't know, you're either not going to get on, or you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get on, or you're going to be in a really long line. And so things like that, where it is really good to plan for some things, but then the rest of the time, let it just be, let it be a little bit more loose and relaxed. So there's a fine balance to find, and it also, like I said, it'll vary from family to family, person to person, and it might even vary from trip to trip within the same family. It just, figure out what's right for that trip and then do that.
Yep.
So, but definitely, whether you're a planner or not, just enjoy it. Have a good time. I don't know of anyone that has ever gone and not had a good time. So just relax and enjoy whatever it is, whatever experiences you are getting to take in and to be a part of. So those are our tips for going to Disney, whether it's Disneyland or Disney World. These apply to pretty much all of it, but that is what we would offer to you. Thanks for tuning in and listening, and we will talk with you next week.
See you.